Hello, you're listening to Environmental Soup through the facilities of Trent Radio, and um, you might be listening on Twitch. And I'm in the process of moving, so I'm um, not on Twitch at regular intervals, but I hope to be in the process. Regular intervals in the coming months. But I usually stream on uh, Tuesday Tuesday nights. So yeah, the first item I will talk about is what happened at the general committee in um, Peterborough. Uh, there wasn't that much because a lot of the items got approved on consent. So there really wasn't a discussion. I'll talk about a little bit about the Ottawa Greenbelt. Um, have why energy audits are important and um, no clear cuts in Kingston. Those are the topics that I will um, talk about, as well as look at what's happening in the environmental registry. Um, yeah, so at the at the committee about the disaster mitigation and adaptation fund, which was approved on consent. There was no discussion, and the meeting was about 30 minutes, so not very long. Um, Most of the meeting was focused around what was it? The Lacos Lacrosse Association. Um, I think that was like the um, and like some of the normal process of council, like singing of the national anthem, stuff like that. Um, so yeah, council approved for the Coldus Creek watershed flood reduction improvements project, um, and it's a payment authorizing, a bylaw authorizing the mayor and the clerk to execute a funding agreement, and the it's a national program that's intended to support infrastructure that mitigate climate-related risks and disasters as climate change impacts increases the likelihood of major disasters such as floods, wildland fires, droughts. I don't know why it says seismic events, um, because I don't see how that's related, but it's included in the report, anyways. And um, yeah, so it helps with um, funding to reduce the failure of infrastructure that would cause threats to human health and safety, threats to critical infrastructure, significant disruptions in economic activity, um, and then the projects have to be reduce social, economic, environmental, and cultural impacts. And then it says like some of the extreme weather events include, but are not limited to, avalanche, landslides, droughts, permafrost thaw, and it says earthquake, but I disagree um, with that because that has to do with tectonic plates. Um, Sea level rise, erosion, storm, extreme temperature, tsunami, flood, wild landfall, and hurricanes. Um, yeah, so it's just authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to extend a funding agreement. Um, and then they're required to report on employment and procurement opportunities. And yeah, um, so that was like the main thing that I saw at council that related to the environment. And next, there is an article called Ontario's Greenbelt is federally owned but not federally protected. Um, yeah, so yeah, like this is Ottawa property, so Ottawa has the ability to protect um, the Greenbelt, in this case, even more easily than the Greenbelt around the Toronto area, the GTA. And it's on unceded Algonquin territory. It's 20,000 hectares national park since 1950. Unceded Anishinaabe Algonquin territory. And it has a lot of wetlands, forests, and streams. And being unceded means that the Anishinaabe Algonquins never gave up the rights to the land, and that um, that means that they should have the authority and the ability to um, regulate the land use, which they do not. And then those like threats, transit, going through a wetland bog, and being a bog means that it takes thousands to millions of years to replace. And then the designer of the wetland was Jacques Rebel, who was from Vichy, France. And I learned that he was responsible for displacing immigrant and minority or urban majority populations, racialized populations, in the and some of the planning, urban planning. He also created uh, the green belt designs that are in place today. and it protects endangered species, wetlands, bold migration. And yeah, I could get into an entire episode about that, um, about how naturals, like park spaces, or have been um, created based on racism, but that's not today's episode. And then iNaturalist users said that 3,000 species are in the green belt, and there's a more blue wetland that is in the green belt, and then that's of international importance and at risk due to transit projects in Ottawa. Um, from this article, and its proposed extension of the Brian Colborne Boulevard and the Cumberland Transitway. Um, and I should say the article's name, Ottawa's Greenbelt is federally owned but not federally protected, by Joy Spiel Chief Morris on February 1st, 2023. It's a 13-minute read. And then there's a few wetlands shown on the map in the map in the article. Um, and then there was like um, some discussions around the different paths that some of the roads would take, and uh, there was inadequate like consultation. Like some of the designs that were chosen as being preferred by the Greenbelt Commission were not shown to the public. Um, and that was by the city. So then the one of the more environmentally destructive options was chosen by the city. Um, and then those concerns about road salt and fragmentation, um, and all the other aspects of related to paving over wetlands. Um, and then there was like the derecho that damaged a lot of the area, and some of the wildlife have to migrate to some of the areas not impacted by the derecho. And if there's further fragmentation, it could be impacted. And then Bill 23 is not like directly, it does not directly impact this because it's federally owned land. However, there could be conflict with the provincial government if those provincial infrastructure um, yeah, so that's that. And then, thought I saw Oh, that's just the appendix of. I'll go to the after. So there was there was a group called No Clear Cut Kingston that's protesting the um, a proposal to develop a tannery site in Kingston. There was a tribunal hearing on a proposed development, and I'll look at what this says. And then it says today on World Wetlands Day, No Clear Cuts Kingston, a non-profit residents group, announced that it has retained the Environmental Law Association to represent the group in an upcoming land tribunal hearing on the proposed multi-residential and commercial development of a formal industrial site in Kingston. Um, and then they have the group has serious concerns about the current development plan, which proposes the destruction of a significant woodlands and the degradation of a provincially significant wetland partially located on the subject property. And then the developer applied to the City of Kingston for official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendments to allow the large-scale development to proceed in several phases on land adjacent to the Cataraqui River. On September 6, 2022, the city decided to refuse the requested official plan amendment and rezoning, and the developer then appealed the city's refusal to the tribunal under the Planning Act. And CELA looks forward to working with the group in presenting evidence and argument at the tribunal hearing in support of the city's refusal to grant requested uh, amendment and rezoning. The tribunal has scheduled a case management conference via video conference on February 24th, 2023. Other members of the public who wish to have their views about the development proposal considered by the tribunal must complete a participant status request form outlining the concerns, citing case number OLT 22-004597 and email it to the tribunal by February 10th, 2023, which is the date of this podcast. Um, so, yeah, if you're concerned about protecting provincially significant wetlands, this is an opportunity to do so. And I'm just going to see where I'm at. Yeah, and then I learned about a website called National News Watch. So it has a lot of Canadian news stories. I don't know how it doesn't always update um, environmental stories right away, but I'll see if there's any like environmental stories here. I know there's like a climate section. Entertainment. Oh, I thought there was a climate section. Maybe it only shows up on Oh, here it is. Climate conal. So I might look at some of these and and in the future those MPs to vote on new carbon pricing exception for farmers. Um, Climate misinformation rocket boosters on Musk's Twitter. Um, and Canada's need for high-speed rail. Let's see, and then yeah, so they're not the most up to date, so I'll have to look at other news sources as well. But yeah, so I might start looking at that. And then there is the environmental registry. Oh yeah, I'll mention like Metrolink's Osgood Hall tree removal is on pause as there was a court injunction, and that's a controversial uh, item because trees are going to be removed at Osgood Hall in Toronto. Um, and the Toronto, the Law Society of Ontario um, does not support the trees being removed. And trees help with shading and reducing heating cost. So I'm just going to go to the environmental registry, see what's new there, and then I'll have a minute or two to talk to say why um, there should be and there should be mandatory audits for energy audits for resale homes. So there was a new item, municipal reporting on planning matters, proposed minister's regulation under the Planning Act. And that's a requirement to um, update the province on the number of homes being built. And I might look into that more in depth. And that has a number of 019-6619, and you can comment on that until March 8th, 2023. There's the future enhancements to the qualifications programs for Ontario's building practitioners, and that has a number of 019-6433, and you can comment on that until February 17th. And the collection management and improved utilization of smart metering data for behind the meter distributed energy resources. And that has number 019-6521, and you can comment on that until March 3rd, 2023. And finally, um, there should be mandatory home energy audits. And this is because the energy audits help people who are buying homes prepare for how much a home costs in terms of energy use, um, and encourages people to renovate the homes to be more environmentally friendly. And a lot of the homes um, being built, the older homes are not energy efficient, um, and use a lot more energy and have a lot more greenhouse gases. I think a third of greenhouse gases comes from buildings. I'll have to look up the actual numbers and make it specific for Peterborough, Nordirong. Um, yeah, and I should say what the name of the report is. It's called Restoring Balance: A Review of the First 2 Years of the Green Energy Act, and this is under the Environmental Commissioner of Ontario, which is now the Office of the Ontario's Auditor General, and the Green Energy Act no longer exists, um, but it is something that should be considered, and um, um, yeah, and this was like a piece of the legislation that was never enacted, unfortunately. And then Hughes is and okay, so it's saying that the residential energy use continued to rise as consumption per household fell by 21% from 1990 and 2009. But those small house sizes and growing population, um, that's why it increased. Um, and natural gas is 62% of residential energy use. Electricity is 29%. Um, and uh, poor home energy performance is embedded in housing and locked for decades. Um, and it's very cost effective to renovate older homes in order to reduce greenhouse gases. Um, and then it's saying that a mandatory energy disclosure policy can be important tool in improving the existing housing stock by transforming the real estate market to valuing energy efficiency. And um, the building association and the home building association and the realtor association are against this suggestion. Um, and yeah, I believe both of those groups are against this suggestion. Um, but I think it would be beneficial to them as well. Um, People would be happier with spending less money on energy cost, and it creates jobs. There's a lot of what's it called? Uh, bio bidding wars, and a lot of times people forego the home inspection and energy audit if it's mandatory. it takes the pressure off of people to ask for these things, and the buyers don't have an option to say no to these requests. It protects uh, consumers as well, um, and I believe it leads to more affordable housing in the long run. Anyways, those are like the main points. And then if you want to look more in depth into this report, it, it's starting on like page 17 and has a lot more detail. And yeah, thank you for listening and enjoy the rest of your week.